this is Jackie, aka Jackson. Welcome back to a special episode of Live, Laugh, Stuck, or maybe this is another podcast I still haven't decided. Maybe it's both. Formatting and decisions are hard. Anyway, I have a very special guest with me here today, and we're going to talk about some very special topics. Sgt Spank, who the fuck are you?
Well, people most know me from my bro body pillows that I put out and won two like Homestuck contests for, and I'm known in the fandom as the Strider Cest shipper of all time. That's pretty much me. My whole legacy is just trashy fan art for fun.
It's good, trashy fan art. I still want that bro boob mouse pad.
Oh yeah, well I'll let you know when it comes back in stock.
It's just love it. But yes, so as you might tell from that introduction, spicy topics here today because
Oh yeah.
today we are going to be talking about kind of Homestuck fandom purity culture and maybe fandom purity culture in general, but let's see if we can keep it laser focused on Homestuck because we both have plenty experience in that general area.
We sure do.
That said, if this is an episode y'all don't want to listen to, don't listen to it. Like, it's fine. I'm not gonna have my feelings hurt. Sgt Spank, you're not gonna have your feelings hurt.
Not at all.
It's people say that they come here for a good chill time, and this is a good fun time. Chill might not be
Nah, probably not chill for the
it.
most part. I mean, we're gonna get into some heavy topics, I think, but still fun, no less, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely not everyone's cup of tea. So just go on and skip this one. And I might, instead of doing every other week, I might have one coming up next week, just so you don't have to wait too long for a classic episode. Okay, I guess it is kind of a good idea to start with some background. So I used to be kind of in the whole purity culture mindset. It's really weird because now we have the terms anti and pro ship or anti or there's like a billion other fucking names for it, but anti usually tends to say about the same.
Yeah.
And I never ascribed any of those words to myself. I was just told that certain things were bad, and I felt guilty about liking those things. And it was just more proof that I'm a bad person. And I just internalized a lot of that. I never really harassed anyone about it. The only thing I did once was someone posted porn in a not to safe for work channel of a hive swap, a friend sim character who was potentially underage, and I said some shit against that. But like that's the most I did. And this is not to like I don't know. I'm not saying I was actually one of the good ones because it still sucked. It was just more bad for me than for anyone else. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And the whole like anti movement is kind of centered around shaming people into believing that these kinks or like the things that they consume in a fictional context is supposed to be like pure. And if you don't follow those rules, then you are dirty, disgusting. Like that's their whole thing. So their whole memo is to guilt you if you do not consume nothing but coffee shop AUs throughout your entire time in a certain fandom. So
Yeah,
of course you are made to feel like guilty.
absolute garbage.
Yeah, and absolute garbage. It's a cult. So
Yeah. And I had my you're are you familiar? You're familiar with Orna High School Host Club, right?
absolutely.
So in
That's
the
what got me into
beginning,
incest ships. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
yes, it's what got yes, of course. It got all of us like 90s kids into incest ships.
Absolutely.
um, but at the beginning, as in the episode, they're slowly figuring out Haruhi is a girl. There's
Hmm.
like the light bulbs start coming on.
Yeah.
So I had my light bulb start coming on over the course of like some months.
Okay. Yeah.
So the first one was I was in a friend server that just if you wanted to know the dirt on fucking anything in popular Homestuck Twitter, you went there. And I was
Okay.
there. And so one of the things that got posted there was the problematic zine. Was there a different name for, because I'm getting it confused because there was a different problematic zine with an 8 as the B that was about, like, characters people considered problematic, here's a zine about them. And then there was the problematic zine that was more about, like, the character shifts and interactions and stuff that was considered problematic and made a zine about them.
Honest to God, I could not tell you because I haven't been super prevalent in a bunch of Homestuck organized like activities until very recently, honestly.
That's fair.
So I have no idea. You'll have to tell me all about that.
Yeah, well, this was back in 2019, and the first one came out, and it had ships like I'm pretty sure it had like Rose Doc Scratch in there. It had some more vanilla ones too. Like it wasn't just all. It was just like you can do whatever in here, right? But yeah, but like this was not a positive space where it was shared. Everyone looked at it and everyone made fun of it and were like, "Why would anyone make any of this?" Da 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 da. Da. That was my first light bulb moment because like if you think it's like terrible, bad, immoral, the worst, why are you sharing it and looking at it?
It's to pick fun at people. It's kids did that shit in high school. Like they
Yeah,
targeted certain people to shit talk and bully. A lot of that came from being bullied themselves. And so they decided, well, I need a target too if I'm going to be a target. And they kind of take their frustrations and the lack of control they have in their life out on other people for no other reason than to feel better about themselves. And it's sad, but like I get the logic behind it, their logic behind it. It doesn't make it okay though. Like it's free to be nice to people. Just be nice.
and I guess a lot of my things is this was a lesser extent of how aunties will share things they think is literally illegal, but they'll share it and they'll post it and everything. And this,
Yeah.
like, while I don't think anyone said anything in there was literally illegal, it was still like, if you think this is so immoral to like consume, why are you consuming it? Right?
And spreading it and sharing it if you think it's so bad that people are seeing it and experiencing it and having to look at it.
Yeah. Like you went out of your way to get this and share it here. And my second light bulb moment was I have to be careful because the at least one person involved doesn't want to be like brought up in anything ever again, which is fair.
Absolutely.
But, like, I was in a group with 2 friends, and one friend had posted or, like, retweeted a thing about how, like, 16-year-old anime characters are made to be considered attractive and not necessarily look 16. That's the draw, that's why people find them attractive is because they're made to look like attractive adults 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And in that group, the other person blew up, said we were harboring a pedophile,
What?
left the group, and I shamefully cut contact with the first person. I have since reconnected and apologized, and we're chill now.
That's great. That's
Yes.
awesome. I mean, and I understand because you probably feel very pressured. That's scary. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
especially I'm not to narrow this down more, but the person who blew up carried much more weight in the fandom. It wasn't a fun time.
No, I imagine not.
But I had agreed with that post when I saw it,
Hmm.
so that was kinda like my second light bulb moment. My final light bulb moment was someone saying non-con was bad and anyone who liked it was a rapist, and I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 no. I read non-con in my grandma's Harlequin romance collection in her guest bedroom when I was, like, 12.
Yeah.
I've researched this. It's fine. You're literally wrong."
Like think about the Sleeping Beauty series that Anne Rice wrote. Like,
Right. Yeah, like, non-con is so normalized in our culture, like, as far as kinks go.
yeah, you don't have to like it, but
Yeah, it's literally fine. Like, it's still on the spicier side of things, but again, my grandma's collection of romance novels had it in it, right?
yeah.
And so that was my final light bulb and my final
Hmm.
switch over to, the pro ship side of things,
Yeah.
and everything went downhill from there until it went uphill, and everything's great now.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I completely understand. I never really hit the anti side. I never really touched that personally because I'm 31 years old. I grew up in like old fandom. shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking like when SailorMoon.com had like a chat room and an email system, and like when AIM was a thing.
Oh
Like
my god,
I
aim.
AIM, yeah. When was it Winamp was like a MP3 player or something, a digital MP3 player. So I'm old as dirt. And so I sort of experienced fandom through friends in high school, people I had met online, and I had never in my life experienced people being so like basing their moral compass on what they like in fandom. I never really experienced that because to me they were always just fucking cartoons. They were always just Barbie dolls to just do whatever with, and it didn't affect anybody. It didn't ruin anyone's day if I liked a certain ship. Like I never really experienced the anti side of things until my body pillow, the Bro Strider one, Beta Bro, came out, and I was definitely targeted after that, and it certainly had me questioning for a long time about whether or not I was a bad and terrible person. Talking like breakdowns, like
Yeah.
maybe these people are right, but I never fully subscribed to those ideas, and I never will because there's absolutely no reason to. It's very unhealthy to base morality on what kind of cartoons and what kind of media you consume, because just because you enjoy Hannibal, for example, doesn't mean that, you're going to become a fucking cannibal. It doesn't work that way. So it just, to me, it makes more sense. And I'm so sorry that you had that experience with your friend. That's
Yeah.
terrible.
And I think the reason why it happened because I just turned 32. My first fanfic experience was on, do you remember Quizilla?
I do remember Quizilla. Yeah.
I only read fanfics on Quizilla, and I did not go there for fanfics. I went there for quizzes, and then fanfics happened.
Right.
And just about every fanfic I read, if it was longer than a couple chapters, eventually had the main character, who was basically a self-insert Mary Sue, experience non-con. It was extremely common. And there was like, oh my god, all the banned RPF that I read. Like I started out Phantom in a very like what is now considered problematic space, but I never made online connections. I like would make one or two friends and then not keep in touch with them. And I never made like online fandom friends. I was very bad at that. Homestuck 2019 is the first time I really made online fandom friends. It's just they happened to be in this anti mindset, and it wasn't something that even came up for like months, right?
Right.
And by then I was just very good at guilting myself and thinking that I was the problem and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they make it really easy
Yeah.
to feel that way. You know what I mean? Um, I can honestly say the same about not having really experienced, like a group of people that really engaged with fandom until I got into Homestuck. I initially got started in Homestuck in about 2011, I want to say.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I've been around for quite a bit in the fandom, and back then, Strider Cest was one of the top 10 ships,
Uh
and so
Strider says is king. That's why.
yeah, and so like it's very interesting for the fandom to take such a massive like nosedive, because it like problematic ships were just normalized in the sense that like everybody agreed that it was just fiction, and then they just enjoyed their fiction and went about their lives like whatever, because it's again, it's cartoons. So it's very weird how it took a turn, and I think it had to be like 2015 when it started, really, because I think it started with the Raylo situation where people like
Mm.
losing their shit with
Raylo.
Raylo.
That is when I started getting those ideas on Tumblr. It's so funny because the Voltron Sheath versus Clant stuff happened, and I
Oof.
knew that that was dumb because I shipped Sheath, right?
Yeah.
I shipped Sheath. How can you not see the Sheath chemistry? What do you mean they're brothers? What do you mean it's pedophilia? You're not making any sense.
They're both adults. What?
Yeah, they're both adults, they're not brothers. What are you talking about? And then the Raylo stuff happened, and I fell for that hard.
Hmm.
I had only watched the first movie, did not really care, and I fell for the anti-Raylo stuff. That's when I saw anti-DDLG stuff pop up. I blame everything on Voltron. I don't know if that's historically accurate, but definitely around then is where I saw like a huge surge in like, cool, we're going after everything now. And
Absolutely.
it was framed in such social justice terms
Hmm.
that I started getting into that mindset and feeling guilty for the things I did like.
Yeah, and it really did feel like it was out of nowhere, and then people started like to really subscribe to the idea that what you consume through these shows is what you like in real life. What
Mhm,
you would want from your own relationship. People started believing that artists that had been creating this content for years that they used to be okay with were all of a sudden predators. It really is just sort of a buzzwords and fear mongering type situation, I think.
yeah.
And it's also got very high school click Regina George plastics. You can't sit with us kind of energy, and
Yeah,
and that's what it is. Like it's a group of bullies that indoctrinates people into this crazy cult where they believe that queer sex is really dirty and bad and wrong if it's not presented in a really super pure and soft way. But they will absolutely be okay with violence and like they don't care if it's violence, but if it's sex, they have an issue. That's queer sex, they have an issue.
it's really funny because, like, people who draw a bunch of gore are really into gore will be like, "It's not like you can jack off to gore," and I'm like, "Oh, oh, babe, you don't even know.
Yeah,
Of course you can. Tons of people do."
this yeah, yeah.
It's also really funny to me because, like, Game of Thrones was, like, alive and strong at that time, right? Game of Thrones is what I go back to often, and what a lot of people go back to often, when it's like, there is a mega popular cultural sensation that is rife with incest, and non-con, and underage relationships, and
Just really heavy themes, and these people don't go after George R.R. Martin. That's his name, right?
yeah, George R. R. Martin. They barely go after the fans. I think they go after the fans more now because the current series running is explicitly about main characters who are into incest, like incest
Yeah,
relationships.
yeah.
But like
They're not
James,
real.
yeah, they're not real, and it's just like the Lannister brother and sister. Their relationship was not portrayed in that negatively of a light. It was definitely portrayed as romantic in plenty of times.
Oh yeah, she was like in love with him, like
Yeah.
explicitly.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That show did not suddenly make everyone think incest was okay.
No, no, they did. And consuming media with incest in it doesn't automatically mean that you believe that incest is okay in the real fucking world, with real people. That's not how it works. It's like it ties into the like thought crime thing where it's like you believe that you consume this fiction and you think about this thing, therefore you engage in this thing in real life and believe this thing is okay. Like people who have and I think it's really shitty and honestly kind of ableist to apply thought crime to people in fandom because people with intrusive thoughts they experience pretty awful things when it comes to intrusive thoughts. It's kind of taking this idea about thought crimes and how like if you think about this thing then you're gonna do this thing and completely negates anything positive to do with people who are working on their intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, and also, like, this is more anecdotal than anything. I feel like there was one article around, but now I'm not sure I could find it off, like, without a bunch of research, but people seem to be developing POCD, which is, pedophilia OCD, where they are consumed with the fear that they are secretly a pedophile.
Yep, that's a very real thing. I've
Yeah,
seen people talking about it on TikTok, and I'm sure there are multiple articles out there about people's experiences with that. And a lot of that has become a very real thing very recently because of internet culture and fandom culture and how people consume their media and how people are demonized for consuming their media in a wrong way.
yeah, because it's not just about actual underage ships. It's like, from My Hero Academia and Hawks, like a ship between 2 adults that have an age gap because it's like 20s and 40s or something, and
Yeah,
people call
something like
that
that.
pedophilia, and it's wild, like,
This
you
man can have a mortgage.
yeah, right?
Hawks could have a fucking mortgage, and he can legally drink. This is a full grown ass man. Eh,
Yeah.
So what is the issue? I'm sorry. Hawks is how old? He said you said 24.
I just said, like, he's in his 20s. I think it's,
He's
like,
in his
early to
20s.
mid.
This
Um,
20-year-old minor.
yeah, and it's just a huge issue because, like, partially because they're not just coming for actual, like, underage content, they're coming for short people. They're coming for people
Yeah.
who just, like, don't look as adult as they think people should look, or people who like more like girly girl stuff. It's absolutely insane.
It is. It's also kind of I gotta say that it's a little transphobic to believe that small people are there. There are I personally know a very petite, small trans man that often gets mistaken as a child, and I think it's really shitty to apply the idea that small bodies equal child,
Yeah.
because these could be fully grown ass fucking adults with, again, mortgages, with bills to pay, with um jobs and kids even, and like it would not matter to these people because they are small in air quotes and look like a child.
I want to pivot to another problem with purity culture that isn't just about the kinks and everything,
Absolutely.
because it's something that people don't always ascribe to purity culture because they just get caught up in the sex stuff because that's how they are. That's one of their big problems. But also, purity in consuming deals with having the correct thoughts about the media, having the correct headcanons, and of course, I'm going to turn this into June discourse.
Yes. All right. Absolutely. I
And
have a
because
lot of thoughts about this, but continue.
and it's not just June discourse. June is the most obvious one where it became very early on, earlier than when June became air quotes canonized by
Hmm.
Hussey.
Yeah.
Way earlier than that did people start saying, if you personally do not like June Edward as a headcanon, you are a trans misogynist.
Yeah.
I personally knew a trans man who changed his name. His name used to be John,
Hmm.
and then this happened.
And then he changed his name.
Yeah, because he did not want to be associated with John anymore. It became very toxic to many trans mask people.
Yeah, absolutely. And they don't care if it's toxic to trans mask people. They don't care if like you personally like really related to John as a character. They don't care.
They actively made fun of people who headcanoned John as trans mask.
Yeah. It's the bully thing.
Yeah, and we'll get back to June in a second, but beyond June, there was also Vriska was another big one because of the Pester Quest route. where the writer, at first, after it came out, when people asked, said, "I'm not holding your hand. You make up your own mind about what I canonized in there."
Right.
And then, of course, what Pumpkin's company line is, "Nothing is canon. You do what you want." But that's not the
Yeah.
truth, because the writer, after that, even after saying that, the writer in the fandom around Vriska said, "If you don't think Vriska's trans femme, like was made canon in Pester Quest, you're a trans misogynist. If you don't think Vriska is a lesbian, you're you're a lesbophobe.
Lesbophobe. Mm. Okay.
If you don't like that we're changing canonically bisexual characters to be lesbians, you're also a lesbophobe."
I just I feel like it's very strange to apply like human gender identity issues onto an alien race where they just are like they choose their gender regardless. Like their genitals are all the same, and not that like genitalia has anything to fucking do with it, but they are literally a completely entirely alien race where gender constructs and shit, they do not really apply in the same fucking way. And to apply real life issues and real life identity crises onto fictional characters that are literally fucking aliens is very strange to me. And it's like, okay, yeah, absolutely. Let Vriska be trans femme. That's totally fine. That's wonderful. And honestly, let June be trans femme as well. That's incredible, wonderful. But you also have to understand that you have to let other people have their headcanons and enjoy their Barbie dolls in the way that they want to enjoy their Barbie dolls as well. Like you all have to play nice and play fucking fair. And just because you play with your Barbie doll as a trans mask John, for example, doesn't mean that you're suddenly a fucking trans misogynist. Like trans John and John in general can exist just as much as June exists. It's a multi universe like comic. That's one of the biggest things in the whole comic is it's a multi-universe, multi-dimensional comic where there are other selves um throughout the comic. So it just makes no sense to claim transmisogyny or lesbophobia when there are multiple fucking universes with these characters.
I also want to say, if you cling to canon so much, one, Hussey has has said that all ships are canon. Two,
Yes, he
Hussey has
did.
said that lesbians, like sexuality, human sexuality doesn't quite exist for trolls, but Kanaya is a lesbian in the sense that that it's a fetish, like having a preference for blonde hair.
Right, and not to mention the fact that Karkat himself in the comic looks at Dave like he's grown two heads, and he's like, "Okay, so like incest is an issue for y'all, whatever." But it's obviously not an issue with trolls. I mean, they procreate with an incestuous slurry. Like that's one of the biggest things in Homestuck, and other canon like moments of incest in Homestuck is when Cronus and Aridin go on a date, and Dave openly hitting on Rose and vice versa, and Roxy, like it's just weird to apply purity culture ideals to a comic that is literally just it's all just garbage ships where everybody is having a spark with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, about the Dave Rose thing. I have a question, because this has been my something that I always miss every time I go through and read Homestuck is, so in Act 4, whenever John dies and the time skip happens and we see Dave and Rose hanging out before Dave goes back and becomes Dave Sprite.
Right.
Even before the Hussey commentary, everyone said, "Yeah, I can't believe Dave Rose happened in that. That's so cringe." I never saw that in the text? Am I missing something in my read throughs, or
I
was
don't
there some other cultural context around it?
I don't think so, and here's why. Here's why I don't think so. I think that everybody is going to interpret things differently when they read through stuff.
Hmm.
They're going to interpret the comic differently, and no matter what you do, like everybody's going to have a different experience with the comic. And honestly, it was made to sort of be that way for you to come up with your own conclusions. And I think that, personally, I love Dave Rose. I think Dave Rose is great. I think there's a lot of chemistry. I think there's a lot of possibilities for hurt and comfort within that ship. And I think it's a great ship, and I think that there is canon evidence that it was definitely something that was kind of like touched up on and given to the audience like, oh, they're very obviously fucking flirting. I don't I hate to say that I can't remember exactly which part of the comic you're talking about, but I can't I can't remember exactly that part. But if people saw like sexual tension or romantic tension in that part of the comic, then cool,
Oh
great.
no.
I don't see it as cringe at all. It's just a comic.
It's just funny because, like, everyone talks about it like it's a fact that Dave and Rose got together in the doomed timeline that Dave Sprite came from.
I think that there might be some evidence that, leads to that being a very high possibility, but it all depends on how you read it, I think.
Yeah.
And if people took Dave Rose as being canon for that, then hell yeah, that's a win for me. You
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. Like, that I guess that's just what I don't get is, like, y'all don't want this to happen. Where are you finding the evidence that I, someone who does want it to happen, can't find? Right? Like,
They
I'm
want
the
a
one
reason to
who should
bitch.
be reading into this.
Absolutely. They want a reason to bitch. That's all it is.
Yeah.
They're miserable, and it is a topic that they can bring up that is disconnected with themselves, so they can bitch about it without having to look within themselves as to why this is such a big issue.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to come up on that in my reread through with Moosey as
Oh,
of
good.
recording this. So I'll investigate again.
Please do, and please tell me what you find.
Yeah. I'll tell the world what I find. If I gotta talk to Moosey and make sure it's okay. We haven't talked about this stuff specifically. Like,
Mm,
they're chill. It's just like, just because someone's chill doesn't mean they want to talk about it on a podcast.
absolutely, yeah, understandable.
There are just so many off topics we could get onto, and I could make the whole episode about that. Even just focusing on Homestuck as a fandom. There is canon stuff in Homestuck that people don't, but
Yep,
it's like just part of Homestuck, like you said, the Emporacest. And in the fandom, Strider Cest is a core part of the Homestuck fandom.
absolutely.
And despite an interpretation of one of my tweets, Strider says shippers are the backbone because everyone is in a state of fear right now. It's not as bad as it was in 2019, but if you're not on not safe for work fandom, or if you're not like in cool places like people who are pro ship or either just don't give a fuck,
Right.
you are in a state of fear.
Yeah,
I know this. I hear from people who are in that state of fear. I hear from
absolutely.
people who are I have a friend who is kind of sex repulsed, so they're probably not going to listen to this episode. And
Yeah,
so
understandable.
like they don't get into any of this stuff. They don't get into these conversations because the whole thing squicks them out, not from any moral standpoint, but just because how it is. And they still are afraid for like basic ass things like shipping Karezi and
Why?
or being blocked for being my friend.
Oh my god. Yeah, I honestly have a few friends that keep being friends with me like on the down low, and
Yeah.
I completely understand because I'm definitely a target for a lot of anti-harassment. They don't want to have to deal with any of that shit.
Yeah, let's go back around. I didn't let you extrapolate on your bro body pillow experience.
Well, there was definitely it was well received within the
So back up
company.
and explain the contest and, like, what contest?
Okay, so it was either the Homestuck 2 or 3 contest for it was We Love Fine at the time. Or no, For Fans by Fans came second, correct? I'm pretty
I
sure it came
think
second.
so.
It was for We Love Fine. They were doing a Homestuck contest as they did like before, and I always wanted a Ghost Rider Docky. Like I thought it would be hilarious, you know. Thought it would be an incredible joke, and the staff seemed to agree when I sent in my entry. I worked like 24 hours on that thing, and God, I wish I could redraw it so bad. They loved it. It was super well received, right? And then I won. Like I was the staff pick. They chose me for the contest. I still have like screenshots of of the like photo op thing they did with the body pillows when the Aridin pillow won as well.
Oh my god. I
It was wonderful.
I might need that picture. I might see if that picture would make a good episode picture.
I will absolutely send it to you because I still have it. But it was honestly life changing for me at the time because I'd never like successfully done anything like that before. I'd never won a contest outside of like elementary school, and my art was like finally getting out there to a large audience, and it life changing for me. But with that came the downward spiral of people who hated my content coming after me and coming after my career. One of the big Homestuck blogs at the time like had a lot to say about the body pillow on their blog, and it got to a point where like I won another contest, the next one, with an Alpha Bro body pillow.
Ooh.
Yeah, it wasn't up there for long, but it was up there. And I that also garnered me a lot of negative attention, and it
For
was
Alpha
really
Bro?
yeah, well, it's because they knew at
Oh,
that
okay.
point that I was a Strider Cess shipper that created a lot of Strider Cess content, and there was what really just like broke the camel's back for these people that just really hated my guts for no other reason than the fact that I was Strider Cess shipper and I was being successful in getting my things up on Wheel of Fine was posting my Dave Sprite and Little Howl print on Wheel of Fine to be sold as a mouse pad and a like a poster, right? Like a poster print. This person specifically went on to the comments of my products on Wheel of Fine and proceeded to link my not safe for work art
Jesus Christ.
on Wheel of Fine, and like I had multiple people like their little lackeys coming in and just dogging on my art and shitting all over it for me being a Stratoset shipper, and I don't think I sold more than 10 of them as a result because they actively went into my shop page to make sure that everybody knew what kind of adult like fictional content I created. And they were super happy about that, I'm sure. You know, me, a disabled trans man, not being able to make money any other way, I'm sure they were really, really super proud of themselves for that one. And shit like that just continued. Like there were people that were friends with that person that would repost my print and talk to their followers about how ugly my art is, and air quotes. Yeah, I've experienced insane things from antis and like big name antis too. There are a bunch of artists that created actually a group of people on Discord to shit talk me. Like that was their favorite thing to do when I won the contests. Yeah, I mean I don't know about you, but I've received death threats, sui baiting shit, and people wishing death on my cat over these cartoon characters,
I
and
I know I should care more about, like, a human death, but going after your cat is just a low blow.
my cat was sick at the time. I had a GoFundMe or donation thing going for my cat Emrys because he was very very fucking sick.
Yeah.
And yeah, they looked at that picture of my orange bastard son and they decided, you know what? Well, you ship incest, so I hope he dies. And it's like, look, this person in particular, I have to tell you, was a creepypasta fan.
Oh my god. Don't you know that creepypastas led people to murder someone? So
It's it's beyond me how these people like can consume content about like, slashers and shit like that, and they're fine. It's
yeah.
okay for them to consume that media or create that media, but the moment it becomes sexual, oh, clutch your pearls. It's the same puritanical fucking right wing conservative Catholic Christian Baptist ideology that being gay and queer sex is bad and evil wrong.
Yeah. Laughing at people dying is okay. Getting off to people dying is wrong.
Yeah, it really is just it's backwards. It's truly backwards. And it subscribes to the same. It's first of all, it subscribes to turf rhetoric, 100 fucking percent, and it also subscribes to fucking transphobia and queerphobia in general. Like, how dare queer people have been policed on experiencing things in a queer way for fucking ever. Like, we've been demonized for experiencing queer content for forever. And unless that queer content is 100% fucking wholesome, we're getting the same shit now. Shit that we should have left behind years ago. And it's within our own community as well, where we are being ostracized from people. We are being demonized for consuming problematic media, and it's very sad. People are losing their careers. A girl was fed a needle
Oh
in
yeah,
cookies. Do
yeah.
you remember that? Yeah,
I don't think I was around when that happened, but I've heard stories of it by now.
I saw somebody, bless their heart. They were a content creator on Twitter. I forget what they worked on, but they dealt with some hate as well. And somebody told her that she deserved her cancer.
Jesus Christ.
And I think it was over Sheath.
Oh my
I think it
god.
was over her shipping Sheath. They said that she deserved her cancer for that.
I'm sorry. Sheath has so much chemistry. If you don't have to like it, but if you don't see it, you're a crazy person.
Like I'm not super like big into Voltron. I did make a passive aggressive art piece of trans Sheath, both of them,
Yeah.
just to piss people off for funsies.
Yeah, I only watched the first 2 or 3 seasons and then I just forgot to keep up with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like, "Oh yeah, Sheath, obviously."
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I don't know about you, but I've experienced I honestly have screenshots of it too. Just crazy amounts of anti-hate, and it all started with body pillow.
Yeah.
Which, fuck it, I mean, I'm making mouse pads and standees and shit too now. Like, cry about it, I guess.
Yeah. I I've definitely received hate, but, like, what gets me the most is when it comes from people I used to be friends with, right?
Hmm.
I had and this is also I wanna touch on posting not safe for work in places that is a boundary where you should not be posting not safe for work.
Yeah.
That is an issue, and I had something similar to that happen where I got into an argument with one of my ex-friends. If I get deeper into it, it's gonna be super obvious what happened, and it's not super relevant, but the point is, I made them mad on Twitter because of shit I said, because they made me mad, and, we got into the DMs, and they said, "Hey, I saw this post you made," like, and it had to have been, like, a year prior,
Right.
and I didn't like it, and I can't believe you said this, and they shared the post with me, and it was I swear also it was on my not safe for work Twitter and not on my main. And at the time I was trying to keep that hidden because did not want to integrate my not safe for work problematic shit into my main shit yet.
Yeah.
And now I just keep them separate because I don't want to police minors finding it from my main. And it was some rose doc scratch thing I said. And
Okay.
they said to me, one, for context, I was in partial hospitalization for a month. Um,
Mm, okay.
after all the drama of 2019, 2020 happened, after I was harassed
And publicly humiliated.
and
Was it
publicly
after that?
humiliated. Yeah, that like all that, it took me a while to process, and I also had other stressful stuff going on at the time. And it just
Which you were
culminated.
baited, by the way. I'm gonna say that for the fucking podcast that read through the transcripts, and that's what we call baiting.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've like fully talked about that on the podcast. I'll have to actually do a episode about that at some time because I was trying to ignore it and pretend that it didn't happen, and I shoved it down so much that it didn't pop up until fucking like June, like the summer of 2020. So like this person I think was still friends with me or had been friends with me, and we weren't like hostile at each other at this point when I was in partial hospitalization. And so they come to me like a year later, like a year after they found this one not safe for work tweet I had, and said, if you tell your therapist about it, she's going to lock you back up. To be
Wow.
clear, I wasn't even in the hospital. It was COVID. It was partial hospitalization, which meant for most of a day, I was in Zoom calls.
Gotcha.
And she said, I hope you don't have any children ever. I hope you don't have any siblings.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
and I do have a brother, by the way. And then they shared that post. I don't know if they shared the full content of it or what, but they DM'd one of our mutual friends about it, the sex repulsed friend I mentioned earlier, to like warn them about me.
What? Okay.
Like they broke a boundary I had with that person because I know they are sex repulsed, or at the very least sex averse. And so, like, we don't talk about that stuff. I know they don't like the stuff I'm into, so we don't talk about it because that's a normal, healthy thing.
Yeah, it is actually.
And they broke that boundary on both of our ends because I guarantee you they didn't ask before sharing it.
Oh, yeah, probably not. They tend not to,
And
honestly.
that friend came to me and said, "This is what was told to me." And I said, "Yeah, like it's some fictional stuff I'm into." And they're like, "Cool. I trust you to be a good person." Like, basically, right? Like, I trust that you are not like a bad person IRL. I don't personally get it. It squeaks me out to hell and back, but I trust you.
Right. Because I mean, it's fictional. Like you're
Yeah.
not hurting anybody. You know what I mean?
And you know that that person who had it didn't really care about it, or else it wouldn't have taken them an entire year to bring it up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that person is also big in fandom, especially like fandom creation spaces.
Mm.
So this is a reason why I think my bringing on creators to talk about their creations is a big deal because I don't want because I feel like the current spaces for creators in the fandom are very you have to be either in certain groups or explicitly not in certain groups.
Yeah, it's clicky.
Yeah.
You have to be like this pure like wholesome person in order to like fit the bill for these people. You have to be a part of their little cults in order to participate in certain things, and God forbid you are wholesome and pure and you just don't want to talk to one of the big creators anymore, and they throw a whole ass fucking fit about it and ban you from anything to do with the big events in Homestuck.
Yep.
Like you can literally breathe wrong, and these people will ban you from participating in fandom group things. It's really just it's insane. It's one of the reasons why I haven't even tried to participate in any sort of like group project for Homestuck because I already know these people hate my guts, and that's fine.
It sucks for me because the reason not that it doesn't suck for you, but, like so the reason I started making friends in the Homestuck community in 2019 was because I joined a voice acting project. Ended up not getting anywhere because you not everyone's made out to be a project manager, but I made all my friends, some of who are still friends with me. Oh, I made some more after it, but like I made the majority of my friends. I got into the Homestuck community because I got cast in a friend sim voice acting project.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun, and I continue to get into other voice acting projects.
Good.
Um I still like to do a lot of stuff like that. There's actually a podcast, that's currently offline, but I'm gonna start uploading to mine, is, The Doomed Timelines, which, my friend made, where we got voice actors together to read Homestuck fanfic, to,
Oh,
like
I love that.
yeah, it is unfortunately offline right now, but I'm trying to get it back up because it was a fun project, and I miss being in Homestuck projects, right? Like, I
Oh
miss
yeah.
submitting to zines, I miss being in voice acting stuff, and I also miss the culture where, like, just anyone could be part of a project.
Yeah.
Like, I was a nobody whenever I got cast in the voice acting project. Like, I, like, had literally been on the Twitter for, like, a month, and then I saw, the audition, and I put my stuff in, and I got it, right?
Hell yeah.
And it sucks, yeah, that it's so clicky, that you have to know the right people, that you have to say the right things.
It's all about publicity and just being like the perfect little fandom robot in order for people to enjoy you as a person. And it's very dehumanizing,
Yeah,
honestly. And it sucks because there are wonderful creators in this fandom. I mean, like incredible creators in this fandom that have been ostracized from big Homestuck projects because they drew Burrow Strider holding Dave's hand once, or Gamzee kissing Terezi, or Amporacess. Like they have been ostracized. It truly is just, it's sad. These people are so talented. They're wonderful people, and the funny thing about it is like all the people who are denying people a platform in these fandom spaces are terrible. They are so fucking mean, and their favorite thing is just bullying the shit out of people and talking shit about them, attempting to hurt feeling, shitting on their art. Like it's their favorite fucking thing, right? But these people that, create this problematic content are the nicest, most welcoming people that I have ever fucking met. Like, and I feel so safe with these creators, and it's just a pity that people don't get to experience that. They don't get to experience the, oh, we just love this thing, and it's not about like the ships that we hate. It's not about making everything pure and just going for brownie points from representation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's about just creating with people that you care about, which was what Homestuck was always about in the beginning. Like creating and enjoying the fandom in your way with other people. I miss the days of Homestuck like get-togethers at malls and shit. I miss that.
I miss I'm sad I wasn't around for that. Like, so here's the thing. I started reading in like 2011, 2012. I started reading before the Kickstarter because I backed the Kickstarter. I just was reading 1,001 web comics, and I was in a fandom for none of them. And I just did not make an exception for Homestuck. I just did not look up Homestuck people really.
That's fair.
Just didn't get in fandom, and it's just very funny. I'm like, this is a web comic. I'm not in a questionable content fandom. Like, so I was there, and I just missed out on a lot.
That's it was wonderful. I can honestly tell you that the experiences I had early on during Homestuck's big boom were phenomenal. I was in Houston stuck for a while
Oh,
because that's where I'm from. I'm from Houston, and I would go to the meetups, the Homestuck meetups at the malls, and they were wonderful. Like people would bring food and their sketchbooks, and they would cosplay. And I went to it was wonderful. There was a Homestuck prom. I had never
Oh.
been to prom before. I'd never been to prom before. I'm a high school dropout.
Oh, yeah.
I could not handle high school, so I dropped. And severe bully was the main reason I dropped that. Never got to go to prom, so I got to go to a Homestuck prom with one of my partners, and everybody cosplayed. I was Tavros for it, and my partner was Gamgee. This was back when I was like OG Sgt Spank era, where I just drew a lot of Gamtav
Fantastic.
before I came out as trans. Actually, Homestuck indeed did trans my gender.
Nice.
But I went to prom and there were so many wonderful people there. Like I had never felt like so happy to be around a bunch of weird fucking nerds that love the same thing as me. It was wonderful. The 413 parties where everyone would bake a cake and binge watch shitty fucking movies, Con Air, Little Monster, like it was wonderful, and I miss those days, and I wish we could go back to them truly, because that's what Homestuck was all fucking about. It was like about community and just having fucking fun with people. It wasn't about well, you have to be commercially like palatable to other people, and you can't do anything wrong ever or enjoy anything bad ever, or you're gonna make us look bad. Therefore, you are bad. Like it wasn't like that.
Yeah, Strider says shippers are the canary in the fucking coal mine. If you can't have Strider says shippers out on normie Homestuck Twitter or Homestuck Tumblr or wherever, you don't have a good fandom.
It was top 10.
Yeah.
It was literally top 10 ships.
One of my friends in a server said that they saw a bro and a Dave like make out at like Seattle Pride
Oh
back in the
yeah.
day.
Oh yeah, like it was everywhere. It was so common. And of course this was before when there was like fan and bro, like people were really like they didn't know as much as they do now about bro,
Hmm.
but it doesn't fucking matter. And I will spend hours explaining obviously not on here and not on this episode, but
Not on
I
this
could
episode,
spend
yeah.
I could spend hours explaining my thoughts on Burst Rider, and once shit came out about him in the comic, like people were just like, "Ew, no, fuck Burst Rider, he's the worst," blah blah blah, and yeah, everything fell to shit. And anybody who create, there were wonderful fucking artists that just left the fandom because of all of the drama and all of the like hatred and vitriol. It's terrible.
Yeah, me saying bro kicking Dave down the stairs was like just the bro Dave fight was like funny as it was meant to be. Was the start of me losing one of my friends because like
I mean, it was supposed to be
it
funny.
was supposed to be funny.
That's the joke. He's a fucking fake white boy, fucking literally teaching a kid the way of the samurai. That's what's funny about it. He's teaching a child the way of the samurai. Why do you think he's doing the shit that he's doing? Like,
People honestly will bring up bro hit Dave so hard with his sword that Dave's the record on Dave's shirt broke. And I'm like, that's not an injury. That's not a real thing that happens to people. That's fucking Wile E. Coyote painting a fucking hole on the
have you
side of
seen Tom and
a
Jerry,
Grand
bitch?
Canyon and then a train coming out of it.
Yeah.
That's not an injury. He did not hit his brother so hard that his record broke as like that's not a real thing.
The thing about Homestuck is even the serious parts, even the parts that fucking hurt, even the parts that like rip your soul out of your body because they are so sad, they are still meant to have some semblance of fucking humor. It is still supposed to be funny.
Yeah. Oh, another thing that was funny, explicitly meant to be funny, but was also a step in me losing that friendship was when Vriska's looking at the cue ball, at like asking about the future, and it's like, I'm about to blow up in your face. And then the next scene is it blows up in her face.
Yeah, that's fucking
It's
hilarious.
hilarious. Or Vriska being hit with her own harm because Equia still has control.
Yeah, that's fucking funny. It's funny. Like the whole thing is supposed to be one awful and morbid, and two funny.
Yeah, just like cartoons.
Yes, because they are. Guess what? They're fucking cartoons. And Vriska's a great character. I do enjoy Vriska as a character.
Oh, I love
I
Vriska so
do not.
much.
I think Vriska is a phenomenal example of a very flawed and also very deep and in-depth character. But the fandom definitely likes to play favorites over who is more problematic, and they definitely choose Vriska as one of the characters that is like, oh, she can do. Vriska did nothing wrong, but they will shit all over other characters like unabashedly, just not care about these other characters, and it's so backwards.
I just whenever someone makes me feel anxious about Vriska because they're being too loud about loving her, I just make up more headcanons that they would hate.
Oh, for
Like
Vriska?
trans mask Vriska, yeah.
Ooh, oh. Listen, Vriska's hot in every form. Every
Yeah,
form. Vriska's hot in every form. But I am also a gay man, so I have to say that I would thoroughly enjoy a trans mask Vriska. Trans femme Vriska is great. Honestly, transing any of the characters' genders is phenomenal in Homestuck. I personally had canon Dave Strider as a trans man and have for years. But also, if people want to turn Dave into Dove, then fucking go for it. Hell yeah. They are fucking Barbie dolls. Please play with them the way that you want to.
absolutely. Okay, there was something else I was gonna talk about when we talked about your shit. Oh yeah, like we touched on this definitely with like talking about the clicks and stuff for fandom. The very much like this person did something wrong, so you have to unfollow them. And oh, this person still follows them, so you have to unfollow them. And it's just like spreading out ripples of like so far away from the original person who was quote unquote bad that like you just have like a whole chain of people you have to unfollow because they're not unfollowing based on dumb shit.
Yeah, it's a toxic game of telephone. Yeah, I've definitely been one of those people that's like, don't follow Sergeant Spank because of X, Y, and Z.
Oh, I had someone somehow had been following me for months after I like definitely was out as like pro ship on my Dirkification account who started adding people and being like, "Hey, Dirkification is pro ship. Are you aware of that? You're following them." What was hilarious, getting rid of that. I did have mutuals block me after that. What was hilarious is they did at my podcast account where I have Darkification in the bio as like this is the person who runs it.
Right.
But they did at my podcast being like, "Hey, you follow Darkification. They're pro ship, by the way." And I was like, "Hi, that's me. That's me.
Yeah.
Guess I'm gonna unfollow myself."
It's very weird because people like to take pro ship and pro fiction and they really like to bend what that actually means to fit their narrative. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, I am very much what I say is I am very much pro leaving people the fuck alone over, because people think that pro ship and pro fic are just like, yeah, pro pedophilia, pro zoophilia, and it's like that's not how it works. Just because you watch Scream doesn't mean that you're gonna put on a fucking Halloween mask and start killing teenagers. Like, it does not fucking work like that, and people apply different logic to things that are sexual all the fucking time. I cannot believe somebody was like, you should unfollow this person, and it was
it
you.
was me.
I would
I've been
lose
here
my
the whole
mind.
time.
I would lose my mind. I would absolutely go crazy over
I
that.
took a screenshot of my bio and circled my name in the bio saying like, "Yeah, this is me. This is me. You did a bad job."
I'm trying to find the one where this person was like, "Oh, you shouldn't follow Sergeant Spank because he's a transphobe."
Oh my god.
And I was called a transphobe for drawing Trans Dave. as a trans man.
Yes, that is the
Very
most
interesting.
transphobic thing you could do. My favorite thing was Dirtification, the account that I was called a June skeptic on, the account that people accused me of trans misogyny for not even openly disliking June, but just not liking the culture around June and making some mild posts about it and getting into an argument with one trans person. Shinigami Eyes lists me as green. Are you aware of Shinigami Eyes?
Shinigami eyes. No,
So
tell me
it's an
about that.
extension that will list some people as green if they are confirmed to be cool with trans people, and will list people as red if they are confirmed transphobes.
Okay.
So it's really handy to just like discount someone's argument out of hand. It's like, hey, I don't know if this person like maybe is saying something they don't realize is bad or what. And then they're like a red in Shinigami Eyes, and like, oh no, they're just this is a thing for them, is they just go around and make like statements to get you to bait you into arguments, right?
Right.
But my Dirtification account is listed as green. So when people see it, they will see a trans ally, and I'm so happy about it.
That's wonderful. I could not tell you if that is the same for me because I draw Dave Bro, you know.
Yeah. No, you're not on there as either red or green, which is how most people are.
Oh,
But,
oh,
like, I don't think the person listens to fandom drama reasons. I think you'd have to actually show, like, proof of actual transphobia.
I see, I see, I see.
Sometimes I'll just go through my followers and see if anyone pops up as red, or if I'm seeing discourse going around, but a lot of them who are starting it feels baity and they're all red, I'm just like, block, block, block.
Well, I mean, as is your God-given right. Fuck
I
it.
block so many people. I have such a hard time on my main Twitter, like my
Really.
main Homestuck Twitter, because I've blocked so many people that I'm like, I need to find more Homestuck people, but it's very hard.
Yeah, there's fear involved.
Yeah, there's fear involved, and it's just like I blocked a lot of the main people. I don't know if they're still main people, and I never will because I blocked them, and they blocked me. It was a mutual blocking by almost every BNF at the time. Oh, yeah, so I did wanna talk about virtue signaling a little bit, because I never really thought
Yes.
about it too much until I was on the Homestuck Reddit, and I don't, like, scroll through there often, I just let Reddit send me notifications, and sometimes it's like, "This person made some fan art," and I'm like, "Oh, cool, like the fan art." Maybe say something nice
Right.
about it, right? But then,
Right.
people started doing these ship tier lists, and this one was notable because some of the ones included were like Dave Bro and John Bro and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's a weird ship tier list because I went to do it and they didn't have like Airden and Vriska as a ship.
They didn't, or they did.
They did not. And I'm like, you have to
Why?
at least pair all the trolls together.
I love that ship. That's such a good ship.
Exactly, and it's like canon in the comic, like, why don't you have this
Mhm.
one, but you have, like, you have
Yeah, they
Bro
can
Dad,
canonically, like, oh, yes,
which
uh,
yeah, not shitting on Bro Dad, it's just like, but you have, like, something that is, like, crack ship adjacent, but you don't have a canon ship on. It's a really weird ship tier list.
well, people don't like to acknowledge that Aridin and Vriska had a lot of chemistry and that they, like, role played together and shit.
But you
Because
have Dave
remember
Bro on it.
I know, it's backwards.
Like, that's my thing is, like, I would get it if they were ignoring all ships deemed problematic, but they weren't.
Not at all. Dave Bro is, like, top tier, like, the most problematic ship in the fandom.
Yeah. So anyway, but people were posting those. One person posted it and had John Jade at the top or like near the top, and people were big mad about it
Why?
because it's John Jade.
But there's chemistry. I don't understand, like oh
But
my god.
yeah, and didn't have a lot of like because this person organized it into quadrants, and
Okay.
so put a lot of Woloa ships into pale quadrants.
Okay.
And got mad about that because people will both simultaneously say, "Pale is romantic, so I can't believe you put Karkat Kanaya in the Pale," and
Oh,
also
I love that
say,
ship.
"I can't believe you put Rosemary in Pale, they're canonically flush." And the guy was like, this is my thing." This is what I personally
These
like.
are my Barbie dolls. Like, go play with
Um,
yours over
it's
there.
like, I can't believe you have, uh, uh, John Jade in Flushed and you hate Rosemary. Try to be like, "You're just a lesbophobe, you just hate gay people," and it's like, Frisk Fressie was also at the top, what do you want? But in res
Chris Razzie rules.
what I think was in response to this was someone used that, ship tier list again, but just had a tier list at the bottom that was labeled as incest, pedophilic, or something else, like, otherwise problematic.
What?
Yeah, like, they included a tier at the bottom for the incest pedo ships, so they could put, like, John Jade and Bro John and all of that down there.
Wait, okay, what is inherently, like, so awfully disgusting about John Jade, besides the fact that it was fucking incest? Because this is something that I've talked to with friends, with close friends. Incest is one of the most basic bitch baby fucking like vanilla problematic kinks that there are.
Yeah.
It really truly fucking is. But people love to lump pedophilia and incest together very very often, and it's just wild to me that this is what they are hung up on when there is canon incest in the
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's an issue. So, and my thing was, you didn't have to put those ships on there. Like, the tier list maker does not make you put everything on the tier list. So this was my like, "Oh, you're just actively virtue signaling. You're just saying,
literally, yeah.
here are ships I don't like and think are bad. They're gross and icky, and so I'm putting them on here so you know that I think they're gross and icky."
And I'm a better person because I think they're gross and icky. Yeah, that's literally it. That's what they do.
Like, I would have had less of a problem if it was just like an A through F, and then on F, they just had all the ships they don't like and think are gross and icky. Like, that's fine. That's what it's for. But to specifically say, I think this is pedophilia. Here's the ship I think is pedophilia.
They claim that any like guardian with the kid, one of the beta kids or the alpha kids incest in the fandom is automatically pedophilic despite them being like grown ass adults. And I was actually I saved a few screenshots and on articles about these issues, and virtue signaling is something that they do, and it's harmful because they will put in reports for cartoon lowly show bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And there's like an entire article on IWF, which is the Internet Watch Foundation, and it says thousands of images and videos of child sexual abuse could be going undetected because of false reports. And it is virtue signaling. It's like, look at this, look at these bad, awful, nasty people, and it's actively harming.
Yeah, because they have to wade through cartoons.
Yep. This says in May 2019, the UK's independent inquiry into child sexual abuse heard that reports received by the National Crime Authority from the United States hotline NCMEC included large numbers of non actionable images, including cartoons, along with personally identifiable information of those responsible for uploading them. According to Swiss police, up to 90% of the reports received from NCMEC related to innocent images. Like,
Yeah. Like, that is an actual, like, moral, real world, ethical affects people issue.
it is. But they don't care once it affects real people.
Yeah. And it's just they have to it's like putting like the stuff in their like freaks DNI. Like that's virtue signaling. No one knows what that means.
Like, okay. I'm so sorry that you're bland and boring. I don't know what to
Yeah,
tell
right.
you. Like, okay, I will not interact. You have a shitty attitude. Why would I want to? Like,
Absolutely. Especially queer people, even those who are unrelated to fandom, especially those who are unrelated to fandom, will see freaks DNI and it's like, "Oh, that's about me though." Even if like the person putting it in their DNI do not consider that. there's just a lot of sex negativity. There's a lot of purity around another topic we haven't even fucking touched on, but oppression Olympics.
Yes.
Oh my god, someone on Tumblr posted how like you guys laugh at the Overwatch oppression chart, but that's how you guys work.
Yeah.
So, like, they rack up the points based on, like, their own Overwatch oppression chart and decide who is the most oppressed, and that person is correct. It doesn't even have to be about something that affects them, but, they're just automatically the most correct about whatever it is. Unless, of course, they're disagreeing with the person talking about it, in which case they're, like, a pick me or poisoned or something.
God. What I can say about the oppression Olympics, what my personal experience with that is, there was a point in time during all this anti discourse where people were like, okay, you're allowed to create these things if you openly tell people what you've been
Yeah,
through
list out
and
your trauma
give
for
people
me.
your exactly like give me your life story, and then I will decide whether or not you are allowed to draw or consume this certain type of media. And a lot of people ended up, I technically was one of them, um, coming out about things that had happened to them, and like had to express like, oh well, I'm enjoying this shit because it helps me cope with certain trauma, which is completely backed up by therapists. There are so many fucking therapists out there that have very openly stated that engaging in problematic media can be helpful for people who are traumatized, right?
Yeah.
But it went from that, like they kept changing the goalposts, right? Like, so it went from like, okay, you're allowed to enjoy this type of fiction if you've been through this, to well, you still shouldn't create it anyways, and if you do create this thing, then obviously you liked what happened to you, like terrible awful things to say to survivors. And then it became, oh well, I've been through this, and people like you creating this certain kind of content is the reason why this shit happened to me. Do you know what I mean? Like I've literally been told that I'm the reason that somebody was sexually assaulted by a family member because of the things that I draw and the things that I create. And it really is just, I've had it worse than you, and fuck you for creating this content, and I'm better than you because I have been through worse than you. I'm just sick of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's absolutely fucked up. You know, sometimes you'll sit down and do the research for one of these people because they say they want the research and you'll do it and they don't want the research.
Yeah. No, because they don't
I
care.
I've talked to my therapist. Like it came up because I'm like, yeah, this person's I'm being harassed by this person or these people. They're like, well, why are they harassing you? And I explain and they're like, but that's fine. What you're doing's fine.
Yeah. Like, therapists are legally required to put you the fuck away if they believe that something that you are doing is wrong and evil. And like, they are legally required to report to authorities if you're doing something fucking illegal and dangerous. They have to.
Yeah.
They have to. It is a part of their fucking job. And it doesn't matter to these people, because they're afraid. They're afraid that if they agree with this logic, that they will lose whole entire friend groups. They are afraid that if they actually start to believe these people that are like, they're just cartoons, nobody's getting hurt, that they will be demonized and ostracized as well.
And it sucks because 9 times out of 10, they're right. I lost my whole entire friend group partially because of the June drama and everything that happened around that.
Why? I just don't, I can't understand that.
The blow up was from one friend group that imploded on me was when I said, no, I like John as John, not as June. And that ended that whole friend group for me.
That's, I mean, but there's multiple universes. They're allowed to love June, and you're allowed to love John. Like,
Yeah.
it's there are multiple fucking universes in which you can enjoy a certain character because I like June too. I also like Trans Mask John. The fucking options are infinite.
Absolutely.
They're infinite. That's what makes it great.
But yeah, so I lost friends for that. And then I also lost friends when I started posting more like pro ship adjacent views. And then I started just telling people like, "Hey, I'm about to be problematic on main. You're probably going to get targeted if you stay friends with me, so I'm letting you know now."
That's awful. I'm so sorry. You should not have to warn your friends that you're going to be talking about fictional characters and it's going to be like heavy and like your friends shouldn't be afraid of that. It makes no sense.
Yeah, and, like, I was going through a whole lot. I was not in a good headspace, so it's stuff. It's an era I probably would have done different now, right? But, I did have some friends drop. I had some friends stick around, and then I had some friends drop later when they realized, "Oh, no, you were serious. You are causing, like, conflict with other people I know because you're doing your own thing over there."
Why is there conflict to be had is my question.
Like, it's all dumb shit, and then I've had people who have had people block them, and they still stick around me, and, I definitely appreciate that. Like,
That's wonderful, yeah.
it just sucks because, some people are becoming, like, disillusioned in the rest of everyone because, like, I try to keep my shit to myself, right? I don't wanna go, "Hey, I know you're
Mhm.
friends with all these people. Well, they were kinda shitty to me. I think you should" like, I don't wanna, like, try to please people's friendships because, like, a lot of times is they were ex-friends that I was friends with, and I'm like, "Maybe it was just a me problem." And then I'm just watching other people slowly realize that, "Oh, no, they are being shitty about things." And that sucks. Like, you have like, I I became disillusioned with some of my friends and some, Pumpkin people who, I did get targeted specifically by. And it's just wild, like, for having the wrong opinions. And again, initially, my wrong opinions weren't even in the problematic fiction era. It was a different type of purity culture, that just doesn't get talked about enough. It was just, you don't have the right headcanons.
Wow. Yeah, I've definitely experienced that too. People don't like the way I draw striders, which is fine. That's fine. And I've been, shat on for headcanoning my striders the way that I do. And it's like here's the thing. I draw these characters a lot of the time. I kind of put a little bit of myself. This is going to sound crazy, but I kind of put a little bit of myself into their experiences because I relate very heavily with Dave Strider as a character. I grew up in fucking Houston, like poor, broke as shit, with not great fucking parents, and I latched onto this character very fucking heavily because I understand. I draw these characters like me to some degree because I relate to them so heavily, and people hate that shit. They will hate that shit.
But yeah, sorry, I remembered the point I was trying to make before, and then I ended it forgetting what point I was going at.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
But yeah, so the point is like, yes, you are most likely gonna lose friend groups if you, like, come out as, like, pro ship or whatever, if you, like, post pro ship stuff, if you, like
Or anti-harassment.
yeah, anti-harassment, if you stop caring, if you don't, like, buy in to blocking everyone who is friends with people who are friends with people, right?
Right.
But, like,
Yeah,
you're
but they're not worth it.
yeah, they're not worth it. You're gonna find so many better friends on the other
Yes,
end. Not that everyone
absolutely.
on this side is, like, great. There's shitty people here, there's abusers here. There always is. Every part of every community is going to have the worst of the worst.
Yeah, just like there are convicted fucking pedophiles in the anti movement. It just is what it is.
Yeah, convicted pedophiles, convicted, okay. I will say I prefer saying convicted sexual abusers because not all sexual abusers are pedophiles, and often they aren't.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
There
just
have been a few pedophiles caught in the fandom though,
for sure.
truly, but
Yeah, but, like, child sexual abusers, I just like to, like, say that as the term because, like,
absolutely.
stuff I'm not gonna get into on this episode. It's a whole other episode. That's a other episode that I want research to back me up on.
That's fine. Totally understandable.
But as far as, like, conviction stuff goes, but yeah, like, no, I do remember one person saying, "Yes, I did rape my sister or my stepsister or, like, some person, but at least I'm not pro ship."
Yeah, I do remember that, and he was, I think I'm gonna say
I
he,
think it was a he too, I
maybe
wasn't
she.
sure.
I do remember that. I do remember him admitting that, and people just like sucking his fucking ass and like, oh, well, it's okay. I also saw somebody that was like quoting a anti-harassment individual, like a pro fiction individual. Um, they were quoting them like, you don't care about real people more than you care about fictional characters, and they were like, yeah, that's the whole point.
Absolutely
Like
insane.
they're like so close to getting the fucking point,
Yeah.
so close to fucking understanding, and missing the mark every single fucking time.
It reminds me of the one post, someone made where it's like they just screenshotted something a Republican said. It's like, "The thing about Democrats is that they would save a person over the Statue of Liberty." Like, they think people are more important than, like, I don't know, just, like, some shit like that, where it's like, "Yes, of course I'm
It's
gonna
like,
save a
yes,
person over the
yes they
Statue of
are.
Liberty."
Yeah. Like, oh, you think people deserve housing and deserve to be able to fucking eat and live comfortably and be able to pay their rent with their fucking paycheck, with one fucking paycheck, just be able to pay their full fucking rent. Yes, yes I do. I believe that minimum wage fucking workers believe or deserve to be able to feed themselves and pay for their fucking rent. Why is this so hard for you to grasp?
It's just so funny that, like, it's those conservatives putting cultural significant things over individual people.
And antis do the same shit.
Exactly.
Well, antis tend to, subscribe with the same ideals that conservatives have all the time.
But they just, like, put it in some sort of progressive sounding language, which is what fucking got me for a while.
You've grown as a person, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you just grow and you self-reflect and you change. I just want people to know that, like, if you're afraid of what your friends are gonna say for, like, things that literally don't harm anyone else, because that's one of the things that really got me when I was being harassed, right? When all my friends were dropping like flies, whenever I was finding out that people I've never talked to were talking about me, that I didn't even know they knew me, I was like, I didn't hurt anyone, right? I've never hurt it. Well, in this context, I'm not saying I've never hurt anyone. I'm a person. I'm a person. I've hurt people, right?
Right.
But, like, in that situation, I was not being harassed and ostracized because I hurt anyone.
No, you were being harassed and ostracized of a cartoon. And you should never have to be afraid that your friends are going to hate you for liking your cartoons a certain way and doing certain things with your cartoons and your fandom. You should never be afraid of that. You should never be afraid of losing somebody over that. And people shouldn't be policing queer people on how they enjoy fictional cartoon media, period, because we've been demonized for that shit for long enough. For just having queer experiences for long enough. It's time to stop that shit.
I need to wrap it up now. Is there any last points you wanna make before we wrap up?
My last point is I guess basically what I want to say is if something makes you happy and you want to create that thing, do not worry about what other people think about you creating that thing. Create it, because at the end of the day, those people do not fucking matter. At the end of the day, you have yourself, and what makes you happy is more fucking important. Like, you are not anybody's therapist, okay? You are not a fucking babysitter. You are not getting paid to care about these random ass internet people. If you want to create something because it makes you happy, and you are not hurting anybody, create it. Do not stop. Do not get discouraged. You are not alone in feeling these feelings and being afraid. I have experienced quite a bit of fear, and it has definitely fucked with my brain quite a bit to think about how I've affected other people, but at the end of the fucking day, these are other people. Most of them strangers are going to have a problem with you, and fuck them. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, care about you. Care about what you like. And you will find people that care about you despite whatever fucking shit you like. People are going to care about you no matter what. You just have to find the right circles and the right friends. If these people are making you afraid, then you should not be in contact with them. Period. Just love yourself, because it took me a while to start loving myself again, and to give myself a platform to create again, because I felt so fucking guilty. So don't feel guilty.
That's great. I don't think I have anything to add on to that, because that's like it's like the whole fucking point, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Cool. In that case, is there anything you want to plug?
Yeah, you can find my merchandise. I have my body pillows up for $44 now. I've cut the price considerably. On Etsy, I'm a Corvids Horde on Etsy. On Twitter, my not safe for work is Sgt Spunk, just one full word, no dash. My safe for work Twitter is Sgt Spank. I'm Sgt Spank on everything, mostly for the most part. And you can find me pretty much anywhere. Just search Sergeant Spank on Google. You'll be fine. Trust me, you'll find me.
Yeah, okay. In that case, thank you very much for coming on. I
Oh, thank you for
am
having me.
certain I'm going to have you on again for one thing or another.
I'm so excited. I appreciate you having me. In general, this was a lot of fun. It was great to get to talk to somebody about this stuff.
It's been a long time coming, and
Yeah.
coming. Um and it's not going to stop here. In fact, I just might take things we talked about and turn individual parts into one whole episode, and this is just our kind of overview.
Introductory
Yeah.
little, yeah, overview. Sounds great to me.
Okay,
I
awesome.
would love to be back.
Yes, in that case, I will see you all in however long the next episode, a week, 2 weeks, a time. I'll see you guys
A
a
time.
time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you to Dami for editing the show and for our theme song, which you can find at Domino Thief on SoundCloud and in the show's notes. Also, thank you to our fakest fan tier member, Danny the Spoonlord, for your support. If you'd like to get a shout out or just support the podcast, head on over to ko-fi.com/jaxyaks, link also found in the show notes, and sign up for as little as $1 a month. For all other links, head over to jaxyaks.com, where you can always find the latest information. Thanks for listening!